There are 4 things that you should never do for a man, no matter how much you love him. And it's not because you're stingy, it's actually because you're empowered. These 4 things actually demonstrate love, they increase attraction, and they actually show the right man that he's chosen the right woman. And so let's check out these 4 things right now. So let's explore what these 4 are. And when I say never, I don't mean we're operating with rigid rules, because I don't believe in rules. I believe in tools. Our job is not to be a robot in relationships. But what we want to talk about is what's called wisdom boundaries, guardrails in the moment that keep you on the road to a healthy, connected, passionate relationship. And here's the promise. As we take a look at what these 4 practices are and unpack them, we're going to move from anxious, second-guessing energy into clear, confident, cherished energy. And I'm not only going to give you what these 4 practices are, but I'll share with you scripts that you can use right now that will support you in the process. The first thing that we never want to do for a partner, no matter how much we love them, is abandon our needs. Now, every one of us has needs. Needs are healthy. They're what's required for us to live a more fulfilled life. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We all have the need for food, for sleep, for shelter, for security, for stability at the base level. And as we move up, there's other needs that we have to live a fulfilled life. The need for love, the need for belonging and connection, the need for respect, the need for appreciation, the need for purpose and growth, autonomy, agency. All of us have all of these needs, and different needs will be fulfilled or not fulfilled at different times. But here's the key. It's our responsibility to ensure that our needs are met. It is not your partner's duty to fulfill your needs 24/7, to be your needs supplier, if you will. But we're allowed to ask for help in fulfilling our needs, and that's where the empowerment lies. The myth is that needs make us needy, that having needs is weakness. It's not at all. We all have needs in relationships. The truth is that when we make somebody else responsible for our needs, that puts us in the victim position. And it's highly unattractive because it hands them your power. But owning our needs and inviting support is deeply attractive. And it signals this self-awareness. It lowers the pressure on him, and it opens intimacy because you're letting yourself be seen in a deeper way. And so if you're curious at all of like, how do I know what's a need and what's not a need? It's actually pretty simple. A need is a universal human experience or emotion, right? If you ask, do all people experience this? Then it is rooted in a deeper need. So respect, appreciation, safety, security, belonging, connection, even play, adventure are needs that we have. There's no limit. It's not like there's a limited number of these. It's whatever is required as a universal human experience for us to be fully activated and living a life that we love. The challenge is that we will often confuse a strategy for a need, whereas a strategy is like a specific action or something that you want somebody to do, right? Where we say, hey, I need you to call me. That's actually not a need. That's a strategy to get some underlying need met. Where the need is actually connection. Where the strategy, people will say, hey, I want you to text me good morning every day at 7 a.m. And say, well, no, that's actually the strategy. And so strategies tend to be controlling, but speaking to your need and then asking for that need to be met and inviting the person to partner, that's way more empowering. So you can upgrade this to say, hey, daily check-ins help me feel close. Would you be willing to do that for me? And then let them lean in and partner with you. Or let's say you have a need for reliability and safety, but the untrained person will say, hey, I want you to share your location with me. Like, give me your phone. I want to know your location. Because that's how that person's going to meet the need of feeling safe or having the other person be reliable. And so you can release control and upgrade that kind of strategy with this instead, communicating your need. You can say, hey, I've got a need for safety and reliability. So if plans change, would you be willing to give me a quick heads up and text me? That'll help me feel secure. and let them partner with you. Or you might have a need for rest and regulation. And the strategy is, hey, we need to solve this before we go to bed tonight. Like, let's say you're in an argument. Well, you can upgrade that and you say, hey, let's pause and let's finish tomorrow. I want repair, but I also need rest at the same time. I'll give you a few more examples of this. Let's say there's a need for appreciation or recognition. And so the strategy is you want him to post a picture of the two of you on Instagram and then talk about the relationship. You see other couples doing this. And so you're not feeling like he's as committed to the relationship as other people are. That's actually a strategy to meet the deeper need of appreciation, recognition. It might be status or security in the relationship. And so you can upgrade that with a request that sounds something like this. You know, words of appreciation really mean a lot to me. Would you be willing to share with me what it is that you love about our relationship? Or you might be on the other side of the spectrum and maybe your need is autonomy and independence. And so he might ask you where you're going for that day, and your strategy is, don't ask me where I'm going. Like, I'll check in with you when I want to check in with you. And you push back. And instead, you can upgrade that to saying, hey, I love having solo time. It really fills up my bucket. So I'm going to be off grid for a few hours and I'll check in with you tomorrow. Does that work for you? And now the two of you operate more as partners rather than pushback. And so if you notice the pattern that all of these have, it's own your need, source for yourself what would work for you, and then invite in the support. And so I'll give you a script framework that you can use in these moments when you're asking for a need to be met. And it's called OFNR. It's observe, feeling, need, request. OFNR. So observe is where you just name what happened. For example, hey, when a few days go by after a great date and I don't hear from you, that's just the facts, an observation of what happened. And then you name the feeling. I feel anxious, or I feel nervous about where things might be going. And then state the need, because I value consistency and care. That's a great way to state a need, is saying, this is something that I value. I value consistency. I value communication. Then make your request. Say, would you be willing to do a simple check-in with me after we have a great date so I know that we're both on the same page? And he'll say yes or no. Brilliant, beautiful communication. So let me give you another example. Let's say the guy you're with loves to joke and use sarcasm and little put downs with his humor, and you don't really like that. And so you want to bring it up. You want to change that pattern. Here's what you can say. The observation is, you can say, hey, when jokes turn into little put downs, I feel distant from you, or I feel sad, or I feel frustrated. And then name the need. I really value respect and warmth in a relationship. Would you be willing to joke and be playful in a different way that's more kind, where we both feel lifted up? Boom. And then let him lean in. Communicating your needs with him is not a hostage negotiation. It's more like a user manual, right? Handing him the manual of how to have a great relationship with you. The second thing you never do for a man is do not be his therapist. Do not be his life coach, right? Some men lean on the other person, not as a partner, but more like a parent, right? A parent, a coach, a therapist, something like that. And this does two things. It makes you, number one, responsible for his problems. And number two, it kills the attraction, because now you're no longer his partner, you're his mom, right? Or you're his therapist. And so when you become the person that takes on the responsibilities of solving his problems and coaching him through every challenge, the power dynamic subtly shifts, right? And it flips you into this mothering energy, which dissolves the romantic energy of the relationship and ultimately leaves you feeling exhausted. In a great relationship, we're equals. We're not clinician and then client. Now, I'm not saying you should never offer wisdom or guidance. You can absolutely offer your support, but we want it to be balanced, where sometimes you're supporting him, sometimes he's supporting you. But be aware of the guy who begins to load you up with his problems. If you notice this teeter-totter is heavy on your side, that is going to be a red flag. And here's why this is such a big deal in relationships, because all of us as human beings, and especially a healthy masculine man, feel secure when they experience autonomy and competence. Masculine energy craves this feeling of I'm adequate, I'm worthy in this relationship. And so if he's going through a tough time and you rush in with answers and coaching, you're accidentally signaling it's not just I'm here to support you, but it's a signal of you can't handle it without me. You're not competent without my advice. And so instead, asking him first what role he wants you to play, does he looking for your advices or he's looking for support in this moment, signals to him that you respect his mind and you trust his ability, which is key. Not always being in the fix-it chair keeps the two of you more in romance energy of admiration and belief and presence instead of management energy. So here's what partner energy looks like. It's like when he's bringing you a challenge, or if you see that he maybe not be operating the way you think he can operate, is you want to ask the question. You say, hey, I'm in your corner, and what would support you in this moment? Are you looking for strategies for me, or are you just looking for some emotional support? So if he's stressed out about work, before asking him, a therapist mode would be jumping in and saying, hey, here's how to fix it. Just do this, this, this. Here's your step-by-step plan. Whereas partner mode asks more, hey, would you love some support? Are you looking for strategies? How can I best be in your corner right now? Or if he's having a conflict with a friend, instead of analyzing his attachment style and why he might be triggered by this, give him empathy, give him validation. Say, wow, that sounds really frustrating. How can I support you right now? You want me just to listen, or are you looking for advice on this? And he'll tell you exactly what he's looking for. And what's fabulous is this is a super potent moment to reinforce your belief in him, and that can be really powerful. The other week, I came home from work, and I had 2 or 3 things just go sideways at work. And I was venting to my wife. We were talking about it after we put the kids down, and she literally asked me, she's like, what would support you most right now? Because this seems really frustrating. I'd be super frustrated as well. Do you want me just to be a sounding board? Do you want me just to let you vent? Are you looking for guidance and advice? And I checked in and I was like, I just need a vent. Like, I don't even want to think about solutions right now. I don't want to think about how to fix this, but I can just feel this pent up energy. And I was just vent. And at the end, she was like, that sounds really frustrating. And I know that you're going to solve this. I know that you've got this. That affirmation of my ability felt so good in that moment, and it helped me move the energy that I was experiencing. So do not be your man's therapist. Do not be his coach. Be his partner. The third thing that you never do for a man, no matter how much you love him, is do not give him boyfriend benefits before he has earned it. Healthy love is both generous and it's discerning. In other words, meaning it keeps your own needs intact and it seeks to meet the needs of your partner. And boyfriend benefits require boyfriend behavior, consistency, care, clarity in the investment of the relationship. And so what are some boyfriend benefits that we talk about? Well, one is primetime access to your schedule. When you're wanting to hang out with him on the primetime Saturday, Sunday, weekends, or prioritizing him in your schedule over other things. Another boyfriend benefit is actually priority placement in your thoughts and in your emotions. How much airtime you give him in your thoughts and how you allow your emotions to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Only allow that to happen once he's earned it. What I would call heavy lift helping is another boyfriend privilege. So for example, driving many hours to meet him for a date, or running him to the airport at 4 a.m., or caring for his dog all weekend, those kinds of things. And deeper levels of physical intimacy, of course, like sex without relationship clarity. That is a boyfriend privilege. And so if you give these things too soon, what happens is it creates mismatch in the relationship. And so he's comfortable and you're confused about where things stand. And so how do you communicate these standards that you have, or what the boyfriend privilege is? And there's a great technique that's the difference between standards versus rules. And this is huge. You see, standards are about you, your time, your energy, your values. They're what you are willing or not willing to do, which creates an invitation to him. Rules, on the other hand, are about control. Rules are about controlling him. You must do this. You can't do that. And rules by nature breed pushback. They kill polarity. So the mantra is hold your standards and release control. Allow him to rise or fall in or out of the relationship. And so let's talk about some relatable standards that we might have versus rules in some real life scenarios. So let's talk about last minute plans, right? The guy wanted to make last minute plans. A rule would be, you cannot ask me out last minute. That's disrespectful. Now, I know what you're trying to communicate with that, but he's going to push back on that. That's going to feel like control. You can upgrade it to a standard by talking about yourself, where you say, hey, I'm rarely available the last minute in the same day. And I really appreciate getting advance notice when we're going to make plans so that I can make time to get together. That's an invitation and a standard. Let's talk about communication cadence. Like, you want regular communication instead of sporadic, long gaps in between the communication. A rule would be, if you want to date me, you need to text me or call me every day. That's rule. That's controlling what he needs to do. A standard is about what you're choosing to do. So you can upgrade the standard by saying, hey, I feel best with steady contact, steady communication. And I really gravitate towards men who consistently and naturally check in with me. What I love about that is you're allowing him to choose whatever he's going to choose, but you're saying, I gravitate towards the man who has consistent check-ins with me. So you get to do whatever you want, but that's where I will be. Guess where he's going to want to do? He's going to want to meet you where you are. Let's talk about sex, physical intimacy, and that pace. A rule would be, hey, no sex until you make me your girlfriend. That's control. That's about him versus upgrading that to your standard, which is about you. And so you can upgrade that to your standard by saying, I match physical pace with emotional intimacy. And for me, I have sex with the person with whom I'm in a committed relationship. Now that's about you and that's your standard, and that is highly attractive. One more example that tends to come up a lot is if you're going to travel together or he wants to come spend the night at your place, things like that. And so the rule would look something like, I don't take any trips unless you make me your girlfriend. Same kind of idea, control about him. The standard would be, I travel with the person that I'm in an exclusive relationship with. So it's a small hinge that swings a very big door, a small change that makes a massive impact in how it's delivered and how it's received. Because rules are all about controlling the other person, whereas standards tell the other person what you are or are not willing to do in a relationship. Very powerful. I'll give you an example of how effective this is. One of my clients, her name is Natalie, was dating this guy, but he was kind of breadcrumbing her. Like, it was like on the edge. There was just a lot of space in between texts. But when he would text her, it was always great. It was always open. And so she was having a tough time reading this. She was like, he seems like he likes me. We have a great time when we go on these dates, but there's way too much time in between the dates and the communication for me to feel grounded and safe and like we're progressing this thing forward. And the challenge was she was giving him boyfriend privileges without this guy operating with boyfriend behavior. And so she decided that she could reset this relationship, and she decided to take a step back and share her standards, not the rules. And this was great because she said, hey, I noticed that we're engaging in this particular way, and I really value consistency in communication and knowing where the relationship is. And so I've enjoyed everything we've had up until now, and I'm going to reserve sex for when I know I'm in a committed relationship with someone where we're progressing towards a more serious relationship. And the guy split, which was awesome. That's actually good news because you want to scare away the wrong guy faster to attract the right guy faster. And so sure enough, she made space. She attracted a guy who was even better for her, a better match, more in common, more attractive. And she started by matching boyfriend privileges with boyfriend behavior. And that cadence and rhythm ultimately led the two of them to falling in love and having a great relationship. All right, let's talk about number 4. The fourth thing you never do for someone, no matter how much you love them, is you never avoid talking about yellow flags. This is huge. What are yellow flags? Yellow flags are, you're not sure if they're deal breakers. They're definitely not green flags. It's not behavior you like, but you're not quite sure they're enough to break up yet. What they are is they're data points, and they need insight. They need more light. It might be value differences, time management differences, conflict style, communication differences. You're not sure if it's a deal breaker, but it definitely isn't a pattern that you want to continue in the relationship. So often we will avoid talking about these yellow flags. We'll say, well, let me just not deal with that right now and see if it's a pattern later, because we're scared of coming across the wrong way. We're scared of coming across over needy or demanding, or ultimately scaring them off and losing a potentially great relationship. The challenge is that what we're doing is losing insight into this relationship. We're losing insight into what their normal patterns are, and we're losing insight on how they actually respond when you bring up these yellow flags. Because relationships are all about agreements. Having these beautiful conversations where the two of you get a chance to make a new agreement around a new way of being together. And here's the point. The right man will never get defensive about you bringing up a yellow flag. He's going to lean in. He's going to be curious because he wants you to feel safe. He wants you to feel loved. He wants you to feel respected. The wrong man is going to get defensive. The wrong man is going to get offended. The wrong man is going to counter criticize and put it back on you or gaslight you and tell you, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. And that is what turns a yellow flag into a red flag. So you can avoid the wrong guy faster, make room for the right guy faster. And so here's a quick little two-step process you can use to talk about the yellow flags. It's reveal and then do a reality check-in where you're checking in on his capacity to even have these conversations. So let's say that he's teasing you and you don't really like the way that he's joking with you. It feels like a put down. And so you come to him and you say, hey, when jokes turn into put downs, I feel criticized and that I feel distant from you. And I really value respect and kindness, even when we're having humor and teasing one another. Is that something? And so that's the reveal. And then the reality check-in is you check in on his capacity. Is that something that you'd be willing to do for me? Can we have a new way of joking with one another? And then see how he responds. He's either going to lean in and meet you where you are, or he's going to get defensive, counter criticize, or gaslight. And so here are some scripts you can use for yellow flag conversations. Let's say he's drinking and you're not sure if he's drinking too much, but there's some yellow flags. You can say something like, I notice you drink on the weekends more than I'm used to, more than I'm comfortable with. And I really have a need for a partner who moderates and drinks less. How do you see your habits? And where does this align with you? Or let's say you're dating somebody who's friends with their ex and they're having phone conversations and spending time together. You can bring it up and you can say something like, hey, I'm noticing that you're having conversations and friends with your ex, and I'm noticing feelings of insecurity around that. And I have a need for really clear boundaries in relationships. And so is that something that you're open to, is to creating some boundaries that really create some distinction between your ex and our relationship? And the important thing here is to recognize the yellow flag test is not just what the issue is. Way more important is how he responds and how the two of you are able to either build a bridge together or it's going to create friction and conflict. So a quick recap on the 4 things you never do for a partner is: you never abandon your needs, you never be his therapist, you never give him boyfriend privileges without boyfriend behavior, and you never avoid the yellow flag conversations. Now, if you would love to go even deeper into your man's mind and his heart, how he thinks, how he loves, how he wants to communicate, and have even more scripts, I've put all of that in my brand new book called Cracking the Man Code. I'm so excited about this because it is so good and will help you create the relationship you've always wanted. Go ahead and click the link in the comment section below and you can grab your copy. I appreciate you. Here is to your amazing love life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.